Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sequoia Commercial Training. So tonight we are going to be talking about process. A lot of the people submitting after they submit deal to us and just wondering, what do we do? How do we process this loan? How come the lenders just keep asking us questions? How come they keep coming back to getting our documentations? So what is the trick? What's going on out there? And how come there's so much frustration, so on and so forth? So today I'm going to open up the hood because a lot of you see Sequoia from outside. You see just a car. Okay, you know what it looks like. You know where the wheel is. You know where the engine is, but you don't know what is under the hood. So what I'm going to do tonight is to open up the hood so that you can see what is behind the scene. Once you submit the scenario form, what is going on? Who is doing what? How can you get from A to Z? How can you get from submitting the scenario form all the way to closing and get your paycheck? So what is in between? So obviously on our platform, if you know, our platform works like this. We do not need you to become a loan officer. We do not need you to go out there to price loans, to understand, to structure the loan. Obviously, we do not need you to go out there to process the loans, work with lenders, work with title company. We don't need you to do none of those things. All we need you to do is to go out there to generate the deals, find out who needs the funding, bring it onto our platform. And once we receive the deal, our advisor is going out there to price the loan, work with the lenders to come up with what we call a term sheet. And once that is done, once the term sheet is out, we present it to our client and the client accepted it, then we will move on to something called process or underwriting the loan. So now from that point on, the advisor is going to turn that loan to our processing team. Okay, you heard of the name Georges, you heard the name Chris. Those are our processing team. Those George and Chris are our processors. Once they receive that loan, now they start working with the lender according to the term sheet. Okay, so what happened after that? Okay, so tonight that is what we're going to dig in to share with you what this process is all about, so that at least take some of the frustration from you, or take some of the myth from you, exactly, what's going on behind the scene. So what we do is that there are 4 steps, there are 4 ways to get this deal done in a very, very high level. The first thing is obviously generating the deal, is what we call a sale. That is your responsibility. You do that. Okay, you generate the deal, bring it onto the platform. And as I mentioned, once the deal is onto our platform, which means that the client accepted the term sheet, moving forward, now we're going into processing. So the processing, it's with the processing team. So in this stage right here, a lot of people just think that, okay, fine, I give you the documentations. How come you're not closing the deal? Well, you give me the documentations does not mean that documentation is correct. It does not mean that that is what we ask for. And that is what the processing team does. They review the documentations. They want to make sure that they collect the complete set of documentations. They need to put it into a format that the lender is presentable to the lender, and they start working with the lender. So that is what the processing team does. It's navigating the file. That's what we call. I mean, we put things together, put things in order, so on and so forth. Now, once the file goes into the lender's hand, lender received this package. Now they start to do the underwriting. Now, what is underwriting? Underwriting means that now they will verify those documentations. They look at the numbers. They want to make sure that the number makes sense. So give you an example. Let's say you're talking about purchasing an investment property. Okay, somebody purchasing an investment property. Now we need to see the contract. The underwriter will review all the contract. They look at the address. Is the address correct? They look at who's the buyer, who is the seller, what is the closing date, what is the purchase price, so on and so forth. So that is one piece of document. Now they also look at the financials from the buyer. So let's say for this for example, that we fund him 80% of the loan amount, and the client needs to be putting down 20%. Now they want to see the bank statement to show that they have 20%. Now, in a perfect world, this investor right there has a bank account that has $1 million right there. Coming up with 20% is no problem. And he can show 2 months of bank statement seasoned, no problem. That is in a perfect world. But in our world, it's not perfect. Why? It's because we are dealing with a lot of investors. What does investor do? They do not just put their money in a bank. What they do is they take money out, they invest their money, they move money around. So many times when they come up with that 20% down payment, it's not just going to be coming from one area or one account. It could be many different accounts. So now the underwriter has to go through all these to make sure that all the number adds up. Now, if this is a business loan, okay, so again, we submit the package to the lender. Now, let's say they're purchasing a business, no real estate involved, or this is a working capital, or this is a gap funding that has no real estate get involved. Now, what the underwriter needs to see is the business income. They want to look at the tax return. They want to look at their income. Now, when they look at tax return, what are they looking for? They want to look for what is their rent, what is their gross income, what product they are selling, how much money they generate from selling this type of product, what is their expenses, what is their employee salaries, do they pay any insurance? So again, that's all they looked at, and finally they will come up with something called an approval, meaning that after they review all these things, now they come up with an approval. Now the approval goes to the committee. Now, because the committee is the one that write the check saying, okay, fine, I'm going to release the fund for you. So once it goes into the committee, now they have to also work with the title company, which means the settlement company. That's the company who actually settled the deal. Now, the settlement company, what do they have to do? If this is a real estate deal, they have to come up with something called a HUD, H-U-D, right? Or they come up with something called ALTA. That is the closing statements that shows the purchase or refinance, whatever that might be, for that particular transaction. They want to see all the numbers. What is the purchase price? What is the appraisal fees? What is the insurance? What is the property tax? What is the so on and so forth? So now the lender, the underwriter, will work with the title company back and forth on that HUD to make sure all the numbers are right. So now, once they have all the numbers and the approval, now they also send it back to the committee for what we call clear to close, CTC. So whenever you hear us saying that, oh, is it clear to close yet? We don't have clear to close. That means that the committee has not signed off yet, even though the loan is approved. Even though the loan is approved, okay, it does not mean the loan can be funded. So that is what CTC it stands for. Once they issue a CTC, that means that now the fund can be released to the title company. Now the buyer, seller, or the client, whatever that might be, go to the title company, sign a piece of paper, and boom. Now they get the funding. Now, some lender will release the fund immediately, right at the closing table. Some lender do not do that. They want to make sure all the documentations came back to the underwriter, okay? In some cases, will be the after closing specialist, whatever you call. So now they want to review all the document that is signed at the closing table, make sure that every page got signature on it, they sign it at the right place, the title company provide them the right documentations, so on and so forth. And in some cases, they need to record the deed first before they release the fund. So again, different lender does things differently. So that means that sometimes for the client, when they sign the paper, sign the closing documentation, they might not receive the fund right there at the closing table. It might wait about a day or two, or wait until the recording is done before they can actually get the funding. So those are the 4 elements for the loan from A to Z. Now, some of you ask, how long does it take? Okay, how long does it take? The question is, how willing is the client willing to work with us? Because along the way, which I'm going to show you, we need to ask for paperwork. We need to get documentations. And if they do not give us anything, there's nothing we can do about it. Remember, on us, which is you, lender, we all want to close the deal as soon as possible. We work fast. This is our job. Once we receive the documentation, we get on it immediately. We don't wait. But again, it's the client. A lot of the time, the client is checking their feet. Sometimes you ask them for some documentations. It took them like 2 or 3 days to get it to us. That is 2 or 3 days gone. During those 2 or 3 days, we cannot do anything, because when the underwriter come back with a condition, that is called condition, we have to satisfy that condition before they can move on to the next step. Without satisfying it, they're not able to move forward. So for example, let's say they're asking for 2 months of bank statement. If you do not provide a bank statement, they're not going to order the appraisal in some cases. Why? They want to make sure that all the front end is covered before they order any appraisals, insurance, and title, and things like this. Each company have their own ways to do business. So again, it's not a matter of how fast we can do the deal or how fast we can fund it. It's how fast everybody can work together. Now, especially when you're doing a real estate deal, we have to go out there to do an appraisal. We have to do title. We have to do insurance. In some cases, we have to do environmental. What does it mean? So let's say, for example, a client is purchasing a gas station. A client is purchasing a dry clean. All those properties, they get oil, waste, chemicals. They want to make sure that the property is not contaminated. Now, in that case, they might want to order environmental report. Environmental report got 2 phases. Sometimes you hear us call phase 1. That's environmental phase 1. Sometimes we talk about phase 2, which means that phase 1, when you do environmental, phase 1 is an easy process. They go in, they look at it, nothing wrong with it. They will write off saying, hey, nothing wrong with this property, move on. So that is phase 1, pretty straightforward. But now if phase 1 came back and saying that, hey, I sense there's something wrong. I don't like what I see. We need to go into phase 2. Now, phase 2 is going to be a lot more complicated. They dig out a lot of stuff from that property, costs a lot more expensive, so on and so forth, right? So again, so that is the 4 different steps for us to close that deal. So you, as the loan consultant, what is your job? You got 2 choices. Choice number 1, you decide not to do anything, which is fine. Then we will do the follow-up for you. But in that case, you will get 23% referral fees. Or choice number 2, you will help us to follow up. Every time when we send out an email, we will include you in the email. Help us out. Kick their butts. Let them know that we need the documentation. Otherwise, we cannot move forward. So please, when you see an email from us, and don't just keep asking us, hey, did the client give you the document? Did the client send you anything back? Well, it's your job. You're supposed to talk to your client, because again, that's how you get paid. You got to work for it. Okay? It's how you got paid. You talk to your client, hey, have you sent in a document? So if we got the document, we will act on it immediately. Okay? So those are the 4 elements that we need to know. Now, let's talk about processing. What exactly is processing? So in the industry, processing is basically you collecting paperwork. You organize the paperwork and you submit the documentations to the lender based on their requirement. So a lot of you ask, hey, Alan, what document do I need to provide it to you? And initially, I don't need you to send me any documentations. Why? It's just because we don't know which lender to send it to. Once each lender have their own set of documents, have their own set of underwriting guidelines, have their own ways to how they want to see the documentations. So now once we receive the the scenario form, and we go out there, we select a lender, we pick a lender, and we got the term sheet, and we decided to work with this lender. Now we know what documentation to send out. So at that time, many of you already experienced. Once the client agreed to move forward, we will always send out an email saying, okay, fine, we will order a submission package. What does it mean, a submission package? Meaning that, hey, based on this particular lender, I know A, B, C, D, E. Those are the 5 documentations that I need to send it to the client. If I choose another lender, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's totally different set of document. Okay, so we send that thing out. Now, in some cases, the lender do not want us to email it to them. We have a portal that we submit everything to the lender. And some lender would like us to just send them an email, or some lender send us a Dropbox. There's so many different ways. So again, that is what the processing team is good at. Once they know which lender that they work with, now they know which portal to go to, how to submit, how to upload, so on and so forth. So that is what processing actually does. But what we call, it basically means that, hey, anything that is necessary to get this deal done. That is what processing is. Now, doing the process, from the time that we submit it to the lender to actually we go to the closing table, there's a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. When the lender look at one thing, and now if they have questions, they will come back to us. Please help me to explain what this is. Give you another example. Let's say you show them a bank statement. All of a sudden, the bank statement shows there's a huge deposit of $200,000. Now, lender do not like to see large deposits. Anything that's above $10,000, they want you to explain. So now, when the underwriter look at the bank statement, they will come back saying, "Hey, what is that $200,000? Can you explain to us?" So, what is our job? Our job is obviously to go out to ask the client and find out what happened. You know, give me some explanation why you deposited $200,000. But in most cases, our processing team will review those documents first before sending it to the lender, so that they don't have to question us. The processing team is trying to eliminate as much questions as possible. So give you the same example, the $200,000. When we look at it, we will review it, and once we looked at it, we'll say, okay, fine. It has a $200,000 deposit. Now we know for sure the lender is going to ask. So before they ask me, we will go back and ask the client, hey, how come you got $200,000 deposit right here? Give me the explanation. So now we collect the explanation, and now we submit it to the lender. So when the lender asks, they don't ask. Once they see it, we already have the explanation. They know what's going on. Move forward. See, a lot of people asking, how fast can you close? It is all these little things right here that cost time. So give you another perfect example. We have a client right here purchased a restaurant. He already owns a restaurant, and he's purchasing another restaurant. The other restaurant is 100 miles away from where he is. Now, to a lot of the lender, when you're purchasing a second restaurant, they do not like to beyond 50 miles. Okay, so we know for sure the lender is going to come back asking us why you need to purchase a restaurant 100 miles away from whatever you are running the business is, right? So now we went back to the client asking for explanation. They saying, oh, wow, because that town does not have this type of food, and we are doing very well right here, and we see an opportunity right there. We see a lot of other restaurants in that area, but just doesn't have our cuisine, and we believe that that is a good marketing strategy. That's good. Now we got that answer for the lender before they ask. Now we also know to ask the second questions, because now the second restaurant is 100 miles away from wherever the first one. Then we will ask. We know for sure the lender is going to ask, how are you going to manage 2 restaurants with 100 miles in between? There's no way that you can back and forth every single day. How are you going to operate a restaurant? So now we ask the question. The client saying that, well, because my restaurant right here is already stabilized, I don't need to watch it. I don't need to come here every single day. When I purchased the new one, I'm going to move there. I'm going to rent a place there. I'm going to move there for at least a year to get that business up and running. That makes perfect sense. So see, before the underwriter asks us that questions, we already put everything together and present it to them that way. So that is what processing is all about. Because of doing so, because of the knowledge that we have, we make your life easy as a loan officer. That's why we do not want you to be processing the deal. We do not want you to deal with the client. A lot of the consultant asking us, hey, can I talk to the client? Can I talk to the lender? Absolutely, you can, but can you handle it? Do you want to? Because all these things are very tedious. That's what we do every single day. And that's why I don't want anybody to talk to our processor. It's just because they are on the phone with the lender every single day. And that is their job. Their job is to close the deal for you. Okay. So with the processing team in place, we make your job a lot easier. So you don't need to deal with it. We make our client's job life much easier. It's because we know what the client, what the lender is asking for. So before we submit everything to the client, to the lender, we will make sure that to do our best to filter out all the questions that the lenders want to ask, and we provide as much detailed information as possible to the lender. So that will make the lender's life easy also. Okay. So again, you are asking someone for 100,000, 200,000, 5 million, 10 million. It's a lot of money. We're in commercial lending. Remember, you will run into deals that is asking for 5, 10, 20, $15 million. That's a lot of big money out there. So work with the lender. The lender want to close. Otherwise, they won't spend all these times to try to talk to you and try to underwrite it. It costs them money. You know that costs them money. So when the lenders come back and asking for a set of documentations, don't get frustrated. Be glad. Why? It's because the lender have the interest to move forward to give the funding for that particular loan. As long as you can satisfy their condition, they will give you the money. That is what their business is. But if the client doesn't understand, if the loan consultant doesn't understand, they will feel frustrated. Why are you keep asking me this? Why is this? I gave it to you already. I gave it to you already. Well, perhaps whatever you gave it to us or the client provided to us is not good enough to satisfy the condition. Right? So that is why the lender will keep asking for it, especially when the deal is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I bet you there's a lot more elements that we need to satisfy before the lender will write the check. So remember one thing: who holds the goal, who makes the rules. Okay. Now this is not Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they all have a set guideline, and if you can fit into it, they give you the money. If you do not fit into it, they shut you off. This is commercial loan. Most of our lenders are private lenders. They make up their own rules. Some lender might say that, hey, I can fund you if you have 650 credit score. For the same client, same property, some lenders saying that, hey, I'm not going to fund you until you have 700 credit score. You might ask why? Well, why not? It's their money. They make their rules, right? So our job here is to get the funding for our client. But we also ask our clients to work with us. And you are the loan officer, work with us. You are the bridge between the client and our processing team. So every time when Chris is our processor, send our list to you and your client and asking for information, don't get upset at him. He's just a middleman. He just tried to do his job to get this thing done for everybody. So yes, absolutely. You can ask why. We will explain to you why. But at the end of the day, it's not going to help. Sometimes we just don't have the time to answer why. Just go ahead and get it done. I will explain to you after deal is closed. Okay. So processing, it's very, very, very important. It's not like just, oh, okay, give you the documentations, then you go out there and you're supposed to close the deal for us. And sometimes you can look at this documentations that's submitted in by the client. Oh my God, it's just like so elementary. We run into so many cases where the client asking for 10 million, 20 million, 50 million. But the documentation that they provided to us, I mean, I look at this thing, it's like, it's so elementary. That is why I want you as a loan consultant to get involved, so you can take a look at what kind of documentations that your client is providing to us. It's very important for you. You don't for you to feel the entire process. So when you look at that piece of documentation, or when you look at the package that they sent you, you always ask yourself, if I were the lender, if I were the one that writing the check, without looking at the numbers, without looking at the details, would I be feeling comfortable to give them that money? Right? Before you see anything, before you look at anything. So that is the processing job. So process is what I call the engine of this car, to move these things forward, to move the file forward. An engine needs fuel. And what is this fuel? Documentation, information is the most important thing. So for small deal, it's okay. A single family home investment property, no problem. Fix and flip, no problem. But when you're talking about much bigger deal, development deals, land deals, construction deals, apartments, so on and so forth, that is why we would like to set up a call with our clients. We need to understand what they are trying to do. Now, we have loan consultants call me up, try to explain to me what the deal is. I don't mind. But the thing is that 99% of the time, many of these consultants call me, cannot explain to me clearly what this deal is. What are they trying to do? What are they looking for? So instead of you calling me and trying to explain, the best thing to do is to set up a call with one of us. Let us talk to your client directly. You don't even need to ask them questions. You just sit there and listen. And we will drill on it, and we will get the right information, because there are many times when we started the deal, and there's a lot of things that the client do not tell us. And we find out after we started the deal. And kid you not, we receive a deal up in New York asking for $14 million. The loan consultant sent it to us saying that, hey, this is a legitimate deal, it's good, let's move forward, so on and so forth. And you know what we find out? We found out the client, it's actually a cook. This couple out there has been doing a lot of crazy stuff, got arrested many times for doing the exact same thing, try to trick the lenders. So we found out, but the loan officer didn't find out. The loan consultant didn't find out, because again, who would have thought about something like this, right? So one thing that we do in the back end is to do background check for who this client is. Is somebody coming up to you asking for 10, 15, $20 million? We want to know who they are. What have they done? And it's very easy. So I would suggest you to do the same thing. If somebody come up to you asking for $10 million, go to Google, type in their number and see what you can find out. You'll be surprised. A lot of this client is not real. So that information is very, very important. And that is why we want to talk to the client. We want correct information. We want correct documentation. We want complete documentations. Without it, just imagine if today you do not put fuel in your engine, can you move? You cannot. Or if you put water into your gas, in your gas tank, can you drive? You cannot. And that is what happened. And that is why a lot of the people got frustrated. Hey, how come, this thing is not moving? How come this thing is not? It's not because the thing's not moving. It's just because there's no fuel in it. And we need you to help us to get the fuel. So what do we need to do? What do we do? Actually, I talked about quite a bit of this already. So we collect documentations. When the package sent out, you will receive a complete list of exactly what we want, and also documents or forms, applications that is necessary for that particular deal. So as a processor, what our job is to look when the client send things back to us. Many times they will send things to us one at a time. Let's say we ask for 10 things and they need to fill out 4 different forms. And they will just send us the bank statement and expect us to get the deal closed. It's not going to work that way. I ask you for 10 things. You need to give me back 10 things incomplete. Application. We need you to complete the application. If there's 2 clients, I need one is called borrower. The other one is called co-borrower. I need both of their informations. I'm asking for 6 months of 6 months of bank statement. Don't just give us the first page. I need the entire set. So that is what we looked at. And that is what you should look at too. Now, I understand sometimes when the client responded to our email, they do not include you in the email, which is fine. When we see it, we will always, when we respond to the client, say thank you, we always include you back to the email. Okay. So also that is something that you should talk to your client saying that, hey, when we send things to you, please include everybody in that email because we all work on this deal together for you. If you leave any one of us out of that email, that person might not be able to get that information in timely manner. So it might delay your process. Okay. So learn how to read the documentations that they send out. Are they sending in correct documentation? That's the most important thing. I would say this thing over and over and over and over again. Is this a correct documentation? We're asking for LLC documentation. We're asking for EIN. We ask for article of incorporation. We ask for operating agreement. That is what we need. But sometimes the client will just send us a registration. I don't need your registration, right? So look at the correct document. We review the document. And in some cases, just like what I mentioned it to you, we will pull credit. We need to look at their credit. Now, most of the time, Sequoia do not pull credit. We have the lender to pull it. They have their own system. Each lender have their own system. They will pull it, okay? Now, we also do their background check, just like what I mentioned, especially for those big deals. We always check who is the client. Now, many times we will receive construction deals asking for 12 million, 13 million, and we don't even know who the client is, who is responsible, because perhaps the loan consultant just been talking to a manager who gave him that deal, but the manager is just a manager. He's not the owner. I need to know who the owner is so that we can check their background. What have they done? So we will run those things. Now, once if the documentation is not complete, we always send email. We let them know that, hey, this is what we collected, but we're still missing this. We're still missing this. Until we have a complete package, we're not going to move forward. So it is very important for you as the loan consultant to talk to your client saying that, hey, please send us a complete package. Don't send us things one at a time. And even worse, sometimes in application, they send us 1 page at a time. Now, there's a lot of ways to scan your document. You have cell phone right now. There are apps on your cell phone that you can actually take pictures and then you put all the files together and to scan the document into one PDF file and send it to us. Again, that is how you earn your money. That is how the client, the client, if they, we see application, 10-page application, they send us 10 pages. And some of them you see his big thumb on that piece of paper. Then when they take the picture, this is so unprofessional, right? So ask your client, please treat us as a professional. We treat you as professional too. You're asking for tens of millions of dollars. So don't put your thumb on that piece of paper and take a picture and then I see your thumb. So we cannot present that kind of documentation to our lender. Okay, so that's why we reviewed it. We tell them that, hey, what is missing, so on and so forth. Now, once we have all the documentations, what we do is that we always put into a company Dropbox. We label everything. And that's another thing. Label the file is also very important. Sometimes they send us a whole bunch of documentations, but the file is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have no idea what that file is. We have to open it, understand what it is, close it, and rename it. So obviously, this is what processor's job is. But if the client can help us name a file, then we don't have to do it. Now the processing time will be much faster. You're asking how fast we can close the deal? All those little things adds up. All those little things adds up. Let's say they send us 10 documents and all those documents are named it all funky characters. We have no idea what they are. Then we have to open every single one of them, close it, rename it, close it, rename it, close it, rename it. You see, by the time we go through that, just that 10 documentation is about 15 minutes. Versus if they can name it for us and send it to us in a package, boom, it only takes us about 2 or 3 minutes to get this thing done. And now, boom, the document can go out, right? So what is missing? We will ask for the clients to, for what is missing, and then we put into a package so that the underwriter do not look at us like, what are you guys? Elementary? I don't want to deal with you, because we want to send out a package to the underwriter as clean as possible so that they don't come back to us saying that, hey, what is this? What is that? We don't do that. So once we send out, and then we start to work with third-party company also. Third-party companies such as appraisers, insurance company, title company, so on and so forth. So we order title, we do all that kind of stuff. So that is what processing is. Now, obviously, a lot of the file didn't go through. Okay, it's not because we don't want to close. Now, obviously, some of the deals that cannot close, they cannot close. We can't do anything about this. But there are many deals that supposedly closed, but we are not able to close, or not able to close in a timely manner. Is because of the following reason. Is what we call the stall files. It just sit there, not doing anything. Okay, not doing anything. It's not that, but it just sits there, not moving forward. The number one thing is they're sending us incorrect information. And it's very, very important. It's not rocket scientists. When we send out a list, it's very straightforward. We tell you exactly what we need. Just send it to us. Now, I understand a lot of these clients are business owners. They do not have time. Well, again, then don't rush us, right? We send you what we need. And if they don't send it to us, there's nothing we can do about this. So that is the number one reason that they send us incorrect documentations or incomplete documentations. The number two reason is they don't respond to us. When we ask them for something, it took them 2 days to get back to us. And we have a client that, well, I mean, she's saying, okay, fine, I'm on a cruise for 2 weeks. Cannot find the client. Now the 2 weeks is delayed. And some clients just so busy they ignore us. And that is the number two killer. They don't respond to us. And sometimes it will be just a very simple questions. Very simple questions, but just cannot find them. So loan officer, and that's why we need your help. And some of you, or I should say many of you, should have already received a phone call from Vaughn. Vaughn is our support team. So if we cannot get something moving forward, they will call you. They will call the client to find out, hey, what's going on? That's the number two reason. And of course, the number three reason is this: the expectation does not met. For example, underwriting. After we send in processing, after we've sent in the package to the client, to the lender will start to doing the underwriting. Now, after the underwriting, the information that they received, they were told before, is not the same as what they received. So for example, let's say you're purchasing a business, the client saying that, hey, I make $1 million. But when they actually look at their tax return and things like that, they don't make no $1 million. They only make $700,000. There's a huge gap right there. Now, in that case, the client would say, the lender would say, well, I'm not feeling comfortable to fund you based on the information that you provided to me. There's no deal. Or the client was saying, that, hey, I mean, whatever this, or the lender would say, okay, I'm willing to fund you, but I cannot give you $2 million. I can only give you 1.8 based on what this information is. Now the client would say, well, 1.8 is not going to cut it because this is a refinance. My loan amount right now is $2 million. You only give me 1.8, I don't have the $200,000 to come up. Again, there's no deal. Okay. So until there's an agreement, the file stores. So what can you do? For the first two, you can help as a loan consultant to work with your clients so that we can collectively together close this deal as fast as possible. Okay. So now what do you need to worry? What do you need to do? Utilize your scenario form. Still, many people asking me, hey, Alan, can you do this? Alan, can you do that? I don't know until you send me some data. So the best thing to do for me to give you some reasonable answer is to at least you feed me some information. If you're doing fix and flip, give me some numbers. If you're purchasing multifamily, give me some numbers. So utilize your scenario form, and that's why we designed this thing, and it has a purpose for it, so that you do not need to do the job. You direct your clients to your scenario form. They fill out the number. When we receive the number, we already know is this still doable or not. You don't even need to ask. We will let you know, is it doable or not? Okay, so your job is to make sure that every time when client asks you to some question, yeah, do your best to answer them. But I know there are a lot of times that you would not be able to answer them. And sometimes the client just asks you a question just for the heck of it. They might not even have a deal. They just want to ask you for different scenario. Oh, what if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? And you end up spending a lot of time talking to somebody that might not even want to do business with you. So one thing about the scenario form is for you to filter out if this client is for real or not. Send them to the scenario form. Hey, fill out some number for me so I can tell you. Right? So once we have that number, then we will know how to make this thing work. And once this thing is workable, I said it one more time, we send our list to you and your client so you know what we are needing. And along the way, you will be included in all these emails so that you know what's going on. And from the processing team, once we receive the package, we will send out to we put the package together, we put it presentable, and we send it to the lender. They start doing the underwriting, and we will start connecting third-party companies to do appraisals, insurance, and titles, and so on and so forth. So our job, the processing team's job, is to monitor all these anomalies, put it this way. A lot of these uncertainties, reasons why the file store. So George's job is to monitor all these. And every time when a file is not moving forward for a day or two, now there's some issue. So we have to go back, find out what is the reason. Lender, are you missing anything? Client, are you missing anything? Again, so on and so forth. So hopefully by today you understand what process it's all about, what we do behind the scene. A lot of detailed stuff, a lot of tedious stuff, a lot of small stuff, but those small stuff counts. Okay. So now if you have any questions or whatsoever, the best thing for you to do, don't just send me a text. I don't mind. Okay. I'd love to talk to you. Don't just send a text to support. Okay. Don't just send a text saying that, hey, a lot of agents send us text, hey, Alan, what happened to my file? Honestly, I don't know. We manage so many files every single day. If you want me to find status for you, at least let me know which file. What is your client's name? What is the property address name? So at least I can ask Vaughn, or I can ask Katrina, or I can ask Chris to respond to you. So the best way for you to do, and also don't just send us an email saying that, hey, what is my file? Honestly, Vaughn do not know. He's not even a processor. He just in the support team. So when you send an email, let us know what your client's name is. Let us know what the project name is or the address name, whatever that might be, so that we can do a search for you. right? So send us an email on the subject line, client's name, whatever that might be. The best thing to do, okay, the best thing to do, every time when you submit a scenario form, we will respond to you. Every time when we start a file or processing, we will send email to you and your client. So the best thing to do, and I ask you to do this from now on, when you check status, reply to that email so that we know immediately what are you talking about, which file are you talking about, and we can jump to it immediately. So that way we all help each other out to get to the bottom of it, to get this thing closed as fast as possible. The bottom line is that we want to close deals. Lender wants to close deals. Client wants to get their money, period. But in between, there's a lot of steps that we need to go through. So everybody have to work together, including the client. So when you go out there, talk to your client, don't put them on the other side of the table. Put them on the same, let them know that we're on the same boat. So from this point on, we're on the same boat. Our goal is to get you the funding. So don't see me that I'm frustrating you. No, I'm not. When I ask you for documentation, I'm trying to help to get this deal done as soon as possible. So let's work together. Don't waste my time. Don't waste your time. We want to get this money tomorrow if I can, but we have to work together. Okay. So again, hopefully you understand a little bit about what processing is all about. That's what we do behind the scene. So that's all we have. So hopefully you understand a little bit about commercial processing. And our job is to go out there, focus, and let's get the deal done. Okay, so that's all I have for you. We have about 10 more minutes.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Now we know, because I'm working with clients to do just those particular things.
Great. Absolutely. Wonderful.
Yeah, I got it now. I get it completely now. Thanks.
Okay, so, Callie. Well, Callie, you're doing good. I mean, I love to talk to you. There's a lot of, I hope that you learn a lot through all these conversations that we have.
Yes.
Now you know how to put the deal together. Okay.
Great.
Jesse, I see your hand raised.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing fine and had an amazing Thanksgiving. Quick question. So for me personally, when I meet someone who shows interest, I know there's some pre-screening questions I ask. I ask them about the tax returns, was you in the red, when you were black, what's your credit profile like? What do you recommend as far as pre-screening? Whether the feedback that you're getting back from the clients will be enough to whet the appetites of lenders who are willing to work on a deal to get it done?
Well, that is what the scenario form is, right? So now if they don't want to do the scenario form, at least ask for the following things. Well, first of all, I did a training on some times ago. It's called the rule of the game. So go to YouTube, find a video called rule of the game. That is how you filter out your client.
Okay.
Bottom line, number one, how much money do you need? And regardless how much money do they need, the second question you always ask them is how much money you can put into the deal. Remember, there's no 100% deal out there. Okay. If the guy's saying that, oh, I need $1 million and I only have $10,000 to put down, it's not going to work. Walk away. Okay. The more liquidity that they can put in, the easier for them to get the deal. So liquidity, right? The second thing, ask them about their credit. What is your credit score? And they're saying that, well, my credit score is 700, 720. No problem. If they tell you that, hey, my credit score is 500, forget it. Walk away from it. It's not going to work. Right? So at least at the minimum, the two things that what is your credit score and what is your liquidity, how much you can put down into the deal. Now, of course, the next thing you need to ask them for their financials and, things like this. But the scenario form is the most important thing. They put in the number, we know immediately is that workable or not. So we try to take away this burden from you as much as we can.
Okay. And as far as their bank statements, how far back would you request from them to a month, 3 months, 6 months?
Yep. So depending on the deals, right? If you're
Okay.
talking about purchasing an investment property, 2 months. If somebody's purchasing an equipment, 6 months. If somebody is building a hotel or operating on a hotel on
Okay.
probably 12 months. So it really depending on the deals.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So one more time, what was the name of that video I should watch? Name of the game you said?
The rules
Rule?
of the game.
Okay.
It's
I'll
on
watch that
YouTube.
tonight.
Yep, the rules of the game.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Alan.
No problem. Hey, I saw that you submit a deal. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
Hopefully,
follow up. I monitor all the deals. Okay, I don't work on all the deals, but
Yeah.
I monitor all the deals. Believe me.
Yeah. I'm staying on top of it. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Anyone else? Anyone else? If not, let's end up today. But again, I tell you, there's a lot of things coming down, especially in 2024. Before I end up tonight's presentation, California, we have a lot of government funding that we can get access to, especially in the green energy field. If businesses are purchasing EV stations, solar, or turning their building into a green building, we have a lot of funding for it. Virginia, we have government money that can fund micro loans. What is micro loans? From $5,000 to $20,000. Those are micro small loans. I believe every single state has something like this, but we just have not yet find the right person. So, but however, Virginia, we have a lot of access to all these loans. And also, today we just have a meeting with an organization called National ACE. National ACE stands for National Association of Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce Entrepreneur, something like this. So they have a lot of funding resources that they are also partnering up with Sequoia as well. So again, there's a lot of funding sources coming down to us, and especially smaller businesses. Okay. I see Donald. Donald, you raise your hand.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, and wonderful, happy belated Thanksgiving to you. Great information.
Yep.
How do I get on your calendar, sir? I want to set up an appointment.
Let me do this. Let me text you my calendar right now onto the chat, and you will have it. Let me see. Let me see. Where's my things? Right here. Okay, so this is our calendar. I'm going to put it into the chat box right here. And you got it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great. Kelly?
Can you just say a little bit more about that solar? Because I have somebody who's looking to do business and is dealing with solar.
Well, solar is a big thing. Clean energy is the big things for the country. So a lot of the states have incentive or has some sort of grant program, whatever that might be, to fund green energy products. The hardest thing right now is EV stations, especially in California. There's a lot of incentive for you to fund EV station or for somebody to purchase an EV stations, especially for commercial property, for example, like malls, hotels, parking lots. It makes a lot of sense because once you install that EV station, and you can go to the state and ask for credit, and probably in 2 years, the credit is going to pay for all these stations. And basically you own that thing for free, and that thing will generating income for you all continuously. Pretty much all over the country is like this. Here in DC also, there's a lot of incentive. So again, basically that is the trend I believe is moving forward.
Okay, that's good, because I'll be able to talk to him more tomorrow about exactly what it is he's trying to do.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Donald, your hand's still up. You have another question?
No, I'm fine. I just get a chance to take it down.
Okay, sounds good. All right. If you don't have anything, let's end up tonight's presentations, and I see you next week. Oh, next week, we have a very interesting marketing strategy specialist to come online to talk to us something about it's what he called the influencer marketing. So what he's able to do, his system is able to do, is to go out to YouTube, Instagram, so on and so forth, to look for YouTuber who is actually has hundreds of thousands of followers in that particular field. So for example, let's say if you want to find somebody that is interesting in real estate, his system is going to be able to find a YouTuber that in real estate that has over hundreds of thousands of followers, and now he will contact that particular a YouTuber and have him to advertise your business. So something very interesting. So next Wednesday night, it's chat is going to be online, and perhaps some of you already heard him talk one time about 3 weeks ago, but he's coming back again. He has some crazy program out there that he's going to be able to share with us. Until then, we see you next Wednesday night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you. Good night.